just that piece. Okay. So this is a resolution to amend and renew policies regarding flexible work arrangements, city sponsorship of events, communication standards, and information sharing.
Do we have anyone from city staff here that'd like to speak on it?
Any city staff that would like to speak on that?
Sure, I can. So this is as you could see, it's a pretty significant policy, but not too much is actually changing. It's taking a lot of the old policies, updating them, and putting them into a new format. And you can kind of see there's even a few spots that were added that are saying that there's blank right now, and that's just placeholders for the future. And the goal is to throw a lot of the old policies out that were formed over many years by many different individuals drafting them, and they're just ready to get them cleaned up and consistent with each other. So if anyone has any specific questions on it, I'm happy to get into it. I can give a quick summary of what's being proposed here. However, the chair and the committee would like me to proceed.
Maybe just a quick summary?
Sure, I'll just go down. So what's being repealed at the very beginning there, it's basically related to absences and holidays and time off and things like that. And so all the old stuff's being repealed. Nothing is changing substantively with holidays or anything like that. But I'll just go right down the list here. So the emergency procedures, the mayor has the authority to close buildings in emergencies. That remains the same. City sponsorship of events and private sponsorship of city events also goes on to here. They remain substantively the same as what they were before, but it just puts it in a better location. And then, so hours of work. The only types of changes there are related to flexibility in scheduling. So there's standard hours of work, 8 to 5 for the hours of business, except that if department needs need to be earlier or later, then department heads would adjust that per person who's actually scheduled to work. And this is all applicable, by the way, to non-public safety. So it's City Hall, it's Public Works, that kind of stuff. So that's just a good way of giving department heads specific flexibility to establish schedules for specific employees. And then also the work location. Another change there was, rather than try to create a policy that, since COVID, I mean, some were here during COVID, but during COVID, we were constantly bringing different policies to the community to change them for remote work, and all the rules were regarding that. But instead, what this does is it creates a policy that essentially delegates that authority to the city administrator to decide what work from home rules are going to be. And so the big change here overall, this is the first example, is that we're creating something called administrative rules. And administrative rules are a way for department heads to fill in the gaps for the very minute details that the council either shouldn't need to bother with or don't really have an impact on city operations necessarily. And so the administrative rules are something every department head is going to be able to create if authorized by the council to do so. And this is one example where it says work location should be determined at the city administrator's administrative rules. It brings over some other policies regarding time off and improper use of time off. And then it also adds an artificial intelligence policy that's new. And basically you can see it if you'd like, but the gist of it is AI is encouraged for city employees. However, anyone who uses it has to take ownership of whatever product they produce. So there's no pointing at AI as the source of some mistake. That's not going to fly.
Yeah.
If you do it, that's great, but you're going to have to check your own work and make sure that it's your voice and your work and take ownership of it. And also making sure that city employees who use it are not providing that system with any confidential information, because it is a third party for which the city has no agreement with in order to maintain confidentiality. We also want to make very specific, there were rules in this before, but it's much more specific now about branding and presentation of materials to the public. And now there's going to be administrative rules created by the marketing and engagement director that it's going to allow them to have a little bit more ability to be flexible with whatever the needs in the market are. So if branding guidelines need to be changed or tweaked a little bit, or the logo needs to be the colors, for example, you change a little bit or something like that, then that person will be able to establish how big the logo should be on something, where it should be located on a page, the very specific things like that, as a way of presenting marketing. And that's another thing that'd be delegated to a department head by the council. And then the elected official briefing is also something that was kind of strewn about the policies. Now it's much more specific, talking about notifying elected officials of planned events, and then also keeping them apprised as they go on. Other than that, those are the most substantive things that are changing within there, or at least being rephrased to be more consistent with internal language. So I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Okay, take a vote. All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed? Okay, passes. Cool, thank you. The number 29 on the administration committee is 2024-0625, which is communication from the city comptroller regarding the results of the 2023 operations. I'm assuming city staff would like to discuss.
Thank you. So each of you should have received 2 different reports. The first report that you received is a required letter from the auditors that just goes over, some of the standard procedures that they applied, and ultimately this letter would have said if there was any audit issues that they had, there were none. So
Up to the city staff.
to all the staff, they did a wonderful job. The next is a memo where I kind of go through a summary of our general fund. It's just the general operations. It doesn't cover the entirety of the city. But I'll just hit on the highlights here. I know I gave you all that detail. Overall, the city ended 2023 in more than excellent position, and that's strictly due to the extremely high interest rates that we received. It's not going to last forever. Every time I go to budget for that stuff, I ask those around me if they know where interest rates are going, and nobody does. So, I mean, ultimately, that's just more of a one-time boom for our capital funding. It's not really an ongoing operating sustainable revenue source, right? In the end, because of the surplus and because of our fund balance policy, $31 million was moved over. It's a big number, was moved over to our capital fund. And remember, the majority of that, at least $25 million, is going to be spent on our DPW facility. So that's going to significantly reduce, it did significantly reduce the taxpayer burden and the debt that we would have to have taken out for that. And then just overall, departments did good, keeping in line with budget. There was some smaller overages, and then there's just more details in each of the departments that I gave you. So if you have any questions, you can ask now, or you can reach out to myself or any of the department heads later on if you wish.
Just like to say thank you. This was the most digestible financial report
Oh,
I've ever read, so hey, thank you.
thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just a thank you to city staff, department heads for keeping an eye on the budget. It's been probably a hot topic since the city has been founded, but over the last couple of years, it's really been a struggle due to some other items. So to hear that we're in such a great spot and all staff and city leaders are taking it seriously to try to not have as much potential burden on taxpayers is really appreciated, so thank you.
Okay.
And then we don't need a motion to place it on file, do we?
I don't
Well,
believe
just in
so.
case, motion to place on file.
Second.
All right, will be placed on file.
Patty, you get a second.
With that, we have no other items for the administration committee, so we will call that to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, thank you.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we
Okay, I
will
thought she
adjourn.
had it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll call the Economic Development Committee to order. We were asked if item 30 could be held.
Okay, sure.
Alderman Rote would like to be a part of the conversation, so we'll save that to the end. Sorry about that. No problem. Number 31, discussion about drafting a new bicycle and pedestrian plan.
Thank you. My name is Steve Scher, Manager of Planning and Zoning. With me to my left here is Emily Wagner. She's our planner. And Emily's going to present an update we'd like to make to our bike and pedestrian plan. The last plan update we did was in 2008. And since that time, there's been a lot of growth in the city, quite a bit of transformation. We've updated our comprehensive plan, our zoning ordinance. We've got plans for future growth in the city, as well as infrastructure improvements. And with that growth and change, we feel it's time that we update our plan. It'll improve our position, not only in alignment with our comprehensive plan, but also for future grants that we hope to go after in alignment with our capital improvements plan. Thank you. Emily?
Yeah, I will take things away here. Hi, I'm Emily. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, it's a distinct honor to be here and present to you folks today some of our ideas regarding the bicycle and pedestrian plan update that we are hopefully planning in 2024-2025. So as Steve so aptly mentioned, there is a comprehensive plan that we have updated now for 2045. And as part of that, we've updated some of our transportation-related goals. Seeing these updates within our comprehensive plan has really made us consider the idea of also subsequently updating our bicycle and pedestrian plan, just as a further asset to complement existing plans. So here, within our 2045 comp plan, we identified that we want safer streets for all users, especially people walking and biking. And as part of that, one of our goals is to transform our streets to prioritize safety of all users and expand options for the comfort and enjoyment of all people. So from this plan, we came up with the following transportation recommendations. However, to facilitate the promotion of these recommendations, the adopted plan in 2008 really does have to be updated through the creation of what we are now loosely naming the Transportation Action Plan. And we'll get to the moniker a little bit more. But the real reasons of why we are looking to address this plan at this point include recognition of how traffic safety and design standards have really changed in the last 16 years, and there's a lot of things that we have to be really up to date and current on when these conversations are so pertinent and in the front of our minds. Additionally, we're looking to update and coordinate with existing and new DPW and engineering projects. So of course, as we keep going down the line and innovating and looking to new sections of the city to promote and grow, we obviously have to follow suit with our other departments in coordination. We're also looking to incorporate best transportation practices. So new things that have been really in the works since 2008 include topics such as safe streets for all, a lot of the ideologies behind Vision Zero, and an amendment of the 4E principles to the 5E principles. So including topics such as equity more so in the equation of how we delegate our streets. We also are looking to recognize pertinent community concerns regarding traffic safety, increased connectivity of our neighborhood greenways, and accommodations for all road users, like I was saying. We're looking to evaluate the community's transportation strengths and opportunities while actively engaging, informing, and ultimately empowering residents through input and choice expansion. So the more options we give people, the more empowered they are to utilize all of the different options for transportation that we support throughout West Allis, which is a good thing to any burgeoning community and any community looking to grow. So based off of these recommendations, I've drafted this roadmap basically for how we are looking to implement this plan update in 2025. So based on this purpose here, some of the most pertinent information is toward the bottom of the statement. Obviously, we recognize that the way we design our streets has a huge implication for safety of all types of road users. So ultimately, the purpose of this plan is to identify priority corridors for infrastructure and amenity investments, focus on priority bike routes to create connected bicycle networks throughout the city, advance equity and accessibility through improvements that reach all members of the community, while coordinating improvements with ongoing city projects and other departments. In terms of plan elements, we introduced the following 7 chapters up there, which follow a pretty logical route of introduction, existing conditions assessments, formulating our goals and objectives, recommending certain actions, exhibiting design guidelines, our implementation plan, and then how we're going to do ongoing monitoring and evaluations of the strategies we put in place. We are looking to involve the public in these discussions as they are incredibly crucial for shaping the way that we as planners plan for the future of our streets based on the subjective experiences of the people who live these streets day to day. So at the bottom, we have drafted a small little roadmap, just basically detailing how we're going to go through preparation, data collection, plan drafting. Halfway through the way, we're looking to really engage rigorously in that public review and feedback process, finalize and adopt our plan, and then a really important crucial step is that implementation and monitoring phase. So overall, I believe we talked about timelines within our department. We're looking to implement this new plan draft within the next 6 to 8 months. We were looking at a year, but hopefully we can get that abbreviated a little bit down in consideration of potential future plans we might be writing. So based on this, we're just looking to garner any thoughts from you folks in terms of the plan name itself. We want it to be really more expansive, so that's why we are expanding from bicycle and pedestrian plan to our transportation action plan. That name is still kind of in the works, but we are looking for something more general. With the introduction of Lime scooters to the city, having discussions regarding micromobility might be a part of this plan, which would be really thoughtful and engaging, as well as some of those engineering and road design standards would be potentially a really pertinent conversation in this plan. So we're curious if you folks have any thoughts on the direction of the document. If you were around last time, I certainly wasn't. Do you feel like we left anything out last time? And lastly, do you have any takes on public engagement methodology? What do you think works well? What could be improved upon? But yeah, that's our general summation of what we're hoping to do.
Thank you. I'll open it up for discussion.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you.
This is something that, as a new member to the council, I heard a lot when I was campaigning. So I know as you were presenting, I was kind of going through my head going, oh, I've got, a handful of folks that would love to be involved in this, myself included. We've had really good luck so far doing community events at like our local parks while the weather's still nice. That may be an interesting route to go, given that this is really community oriented. But no, excited. I think this is an excellent direction for us to go.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
And just, yeah, I mean, as far as, talking to people in person, I think always helps. Not everybody's online, so whether, at some point it's a presentation at the farmer's market or, things like,
Trash can tags.
right, where people can, kind of see it in a bigger format than on a little screen might be helpful. But, I'm looking forward to seeing how it pans out.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep us apprised of what you need. To your point, it's more than just bicycles now with Lime scooters coming. We have another agenda item on for a potential pedal bike tavern. So that could change.
Yeah.
Potentially how streets are used and shared. So, I agree, any type of in-person, especially for the spots that seem to get a lot of pedestrian or non-car traffic, such as the farmer's market, it would be beneficial to, get those thoughts in, and especially now when, hopefully, I'm guessing working with engineering, that when streets are being redone, that depending on what the street is, potentially looking at upfront, bike lanes or traffic calming measures while there's already construction happening.
Absolutely. Those are discussions that we're having on our end, most certainly, in coordination with DPW and engineering. But yeah, when we tear up the roads, it's just best to get all of your projects in at once if possible. So it's definitely a consideration.
All right, do we need a motion placed on file?
No, this one is just for discussion.
Oh, yeah, discussion. All right, so then, number 32, Class B tavern and public entertainment license for West Allis DDF LLC DBA Jimmy B, 7216 West Greenfield, add Agent Sally Seaburn. You can have a
Attorney
seat.
John Fuchs, and this is the gradually recovering Frank Orcholski, who
Glad you're doing better, Frank.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Glad
glad
you're
you
up
could
and
be here.
will take over because unlike the attorney, he knows what he's talking about.
And, so then who's Sally to you?
So Sally is actually our office person. She does back office work for me, so I think that was a error on the paperwork.
So are you
So-
wanting her to be listed as the agent?
No, I would be the agent.
Attorney Decker?
If I recall this one, I believe the license,
Oh, yeah, we did
We
amend,
amended
okay,
the agent.
perfect,
yes.
gotcha. Agent's full name, Frank?
Just Frank,
Okay,
like share.
okay.
I think that was one thing I was able to bring up, that it was Frank that was applying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just says agent's full name is Frank, just as an FYI, doesn't have a last name on the
So-
license.
If you could include your full name for the record then,
It's Frank James Orchowski.
Okay.
how do you spell the last name?
Orchholski.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And you're looking over to take Jimmy B's, been around for a while, and you have previous bar ownership experience?
Bar management
Okay.
experience, yes. But yeah, just looking to do a turnkey situation and go in and kind of keep the establishment running the way Kevin's had it.
Are you purchasing the building?
At this time, I'm not purchasing the building, but I'm working on a deal to purchase the building.
And then I think that has an apartment in the back, right?
There's, in the back, there's a apartment that was used for business
Oh, gotcha.
situation. There is one apartment upstairs that is currently rented out.
And I'll stay to the same tenant.
We'll keep it to the same tenant, until they decide that they would no longer want to stay there. And then at that point, we might visit it as a potential office space.
Hours. Okay. And then, I noticed here on the hours, it's 11:30 on some days, 10:30 on the others. What we kind of recommend for bar owners is to, have the hours at the allotted time that the state allows. And that's in case there is a Packer game over in England or Brazil and you wanna open up at 6, you have the opportunity to do that.
Okay,
That would just be our, again, recommendation, because as it is now, on a Sunday, you cannot open until 11:30 if it were to be listed like this.
okay.
So our recommendation would be to potentially approve for the state allowed hours,
Yeah, then
which
that's-
is the 6 AM to
Yeah.
2 AM, and then Fridays 2:30 AM.
Till 2:30.
And then, are you gonna be bartending, or are you just managing? or-
I would be a fill-in bartender on occasion. Will, especially in the beginning, manage until at what time maybe we'll see if there's a manager, either somebody that's worked there for a long time that maybe, has had similar sort of manager duties and would promote somebody into that position, but in the beginning, it would be, it'd be manager and monitoring.
And do you have a Wisconsin bartending license?
I have it through other liquor licenses.
Or through like a different,
Yeah, through like
City?
different city, yeah.
okay. I'll open it up at this time. Is there any further discussion or conversation? Yes.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I would look to approve with a couple conditions. One is that you obtain the West Dallas bartender's license,
Okay.
which is a application process. You can apply for it. There's classes online I think you can do. I would look to also approve allowing for the, under state of Wisconsin operating hours, which would be the 6 AM to 2 AM and then 2:30. Please make sure that obviously anyone serving alcohol is a licensed bartender. Please make sure you are carding appropriately. If there are issues, we ask that you do reach out to the police. And do you have cameras inside?
At this point, no, but we will be installing cameras on the
Okay.
inside.
Okay. So that would just be my personal recommendation at
Completed
this
the
time.
response.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just to Just to clarify for the bartender's license, do you mean you should take the MATC course on bartending or actually obtain the license? Because by state,
So,
Just obtain the license through the city of West Dallas.
He's completed the responsible
so
server course.
like, yeah, years ago I did that, had a bartender's license, but then let my actual bartender's license lapse when I became a liquor agent. And
Okay.
always had the liquor agent license previously.
Okay.
So I haven't held an actual bartender's license for years since I've been doing that, and I renew that every year.
Gotcha.
so the council, once approving an applicant for a retail license, there's no need to have the licensee also obtain a bartender's license. So on that one example, the committee asked that they take the course because they were completely inexperienced.
Gotcha.
But other than that, it wouldn't be a legal requirement for a retail license.
You've taken the course,
I
right?
have in the past taken the course.
Okay.
yeah. And I've held a license consecutively
Gotcha.
since that point.
Okay.
So then, yeah. I mean, is there
No,
a
Madam Chair, I would
motion or
find that,
second?
yeah, I would
I
find that
would-
to be sufficient. I'd second.
Okay, so move for approval with the conditions of the hours of operation changed to Wisconsin state allowed hours and,
The full name be listed on the license.
okay. So,
Second?
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Good luck.
good luck.
Glad you're doing better.
Thank you. Do I need to fill out something, or will that just all be filled out? Like my full name on the,
The,
It's in the application.
Staff should be able to fill in the rest of the agent, and then it'll be
And
sent
then-
out online.
and then regard to the hours, I can post, like, open hour, even though I'm
Yep.
requesting, but I can
Yep.
you can post your hours at 11:30 to this, and that way it's just,
No, thank
if you
you.
ever
in
want to go
case.
outside those hours, you have the ability to do so.
Okay, I appreciate that, thank you.
You know, St. Patrick's Day,
Yeah, some of
football.
those type of things, okay.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Can your minutes reflect I did much better this trip?
We can reflect that.
10 out of 10, friend. 10 out of 10.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you again.
All right, number 33, new Class B Tavern and Public Entertainment License for Bar West Dallas LLC, DBA Drunk Uncle, 1902 South 68th Street. Agent Neil Stefik. Hello.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
If you don't mind, I've got some
yes.
questions or info. So, right now, the DOR, as in staff for the DOR, has informed our office that there is a debt associated with the current licensee, and that debt remains unpaid. At the same time, our staff checked online and found that the licensee LLC is listed as valid on the state's website. So there's a conflict of information right there. Nonetheless, I don't know if Mr. Stevick has the information he can provide that fills in the gaps for us here, but I just don't know how to resolve that conflict right now. And I'd be curious to know if you have an explanation for that.
Sure. As my business evolves, the next step for us to grow is to start a new LLC so we can expand, which is why we're moving the liquor license into the new LLC and moving out from the old one.
Madam Chair? But what about, I guess, what Attorney Decker's getting at, or at least I'm gonna think, what about the relation to it saying there's a valid license online, but then it's saying that there isn't on your current license because of a debt owed?
That should not be the current license anymore.
So, just so we get the correct terms, the current license, meaning the one that's at that location at 1902 South 68, is the existing license for Stefik LLC. That's what the current license is.
Mhm.
What the applicant's requesting is a new license under Bar West Dallas LLC for the exact same location. But the old license is still there. The new license would be something that is under the new license standards, which is the rational basis. So it's up to the committee how you want to proceed. I was more trying to confirm whether the Stefik LLC seller's permit is valid or not, because we have a state agent saying it's not, and then a state website saying it is. And that's the question I'm trying to figure out, if there were some recent payments made or some other approvals or something happened there that resulted in it becoming
Put in my phone
valid.
for the exact dates if you want me to, but I went to the state building. I talked to a lady who's taking care of everything. and we're good to go.
Adam,
Okay. So from our office's standpoint, because an existing license is still there, existing LLC is still there, it appears valid online, but the DOR is saying there's still a debt there, I don't see a need or reason to issue a new license this location. Like the growth of the establishment is not limited. The old LLC can grow as large as it can grow as far as business is concerned. I don't understand necessarily the need for a new LLC in this one. And I just, at this point in time, the online system says it's valid, so we would need more information from the DOR to even do anything with the existing license under Stefak LLC. I guess is what I'm
Matt.
getting at.
sorry.
I would agree, based on quotas that we have 6 licenses left. I wouldn't be in favor of issuing a license that does the same exact activity for one address. So my recommendation would be to continue to pursue the renewal of your current license.
Which is
Madam
good
Chair.
through,
Sorry, go ahead.
which is good through June of 25.
Yes, so that license,
That's a separate issue than the seller's
correct,
permit, correct?
yes.
This is really kind of the crux of the whole thing, is whether there's an active seller's permit.
Yes. So the license that's issued right now is valid until June 30 of 2025, as far as the city is concerned. DOR is, at one point in time, informed the city that the seller's permit for that LLC was revoked. And that's what triggered some action on our office's part. However, the way that I've advised the DOR is we will not be taking action against the licensee for their license except at the time of renewal if it hasn't been figured out by then. However, the DOR can take separate action, and if it says that there's no seller's permit, what the seller's permit does is it allows you to sell tangible goods and collect sales tax. And our license technically doesn't require you to sell alcohol. So in theory, you could have a valid license, you could just hold that license and sit there, and there's nothing wrong with that from our perspective, from the city's perspective. The DOR is the only one that have a concern if you're selling alcohol from that location. And the only concern now is the second part. So unless he's currently selling alcohol from his current location against the DOR's revoked seller's permit, the city doesn't really have an issue with the current license. The current license is still valid. So that's why I was trying to clarify what was going on with the seller's permit.
That's why I'm trying to transfer liquor license from the old LLC to a new one, so we don't have that problem.
Madam Chair.
Because I do want a seller's permit, because I do want to sell alcohol, obviously.
Oh, so you don't currently have a seller's permit?
Correct. And I need one. And the state gave me one, which is why we need to transfer the liquor license from A to B.
Online, it's saying it's valid,
Correct.
so then there would not be a need to issue a new seller's
Yeah.
license.
Madam Chair? So I guess there's one of two things. Either A, the seller's permit for Stefak LLC, the current licensee, is valid and there's no need to issue new license. Or it has been revoked, and that is revoked because there's a debt owed. And if that's the case, I would advise the committee to not issue a new license, because what that would do would circumvent the collection process of the DOR. So without even knowing the answer, either way, my advice would still be to deny the new application, and either allow the current Stefak LLC license to continue operating if the DOR says it's okay, or if it's not okay, then the applicant would have to take care of that issue with the DOR.
I was advised from the state this is the way to do this.
Okay, so you're saying that you do not have a current seller's permit, correct?
And that's
Okay.
what the
Why do
state,
you not have a current seller's permit?
because of COVID, from 4.5 years ago. So,
DOR did not issue, is there past debts?
correct. So I took that,
Has revoked it, really?
I took 2 trips downtown, get this taken care of. Did exactly what you told me to do. I started a new LLC, went to the bank, pay the deposit, or whatever you want to call that, to the state of Wisconsin to make everything valid. And this is, now I'm here. So everything is valid, everything's good to go. But I need that seller's permit to move everything from the old LLC to the new one, which is,
Attorney Decker,
I mean, I wouldn't be
you
here doing
advise
this
how that
if
works?
the state didn't tell me to do this.
So who in the state told you to apply for a new license?
If I can,
because wouldn't it
I
be
can give you all of her
reinstated
emails, her
once it's
information,
paid?
everything.
Sure. Do you have something in writing
Okay.
from her?
We can go down there tomorrow and talk to her.
I was hoping you had something now.
Yeah. Because would they reinstate, as, from an attorney standpoint, wouldn't they reinstate it if it was paid? Is that how that works? I don't know.
I honestly have never seen this happen before, so I
Okay.
don't know if they reinstate or require a new one.
I guess I kind of stand with Madam Chair that we only have so many licenses left.
Well, I don't want a new license.
Right, so I say we either, to get it, if we need more time to get it worked out, then maybe we hold this to the next
That-
council meeting.
I just want to say, I don't want a new I do not want a new license.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not trying to open up a new bar, I'm not trying to do, I'm just transferring A to B. That's all it is.
So effectively, that's what the applicant's looking for, but from a legal perspective, it was a new license application.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it was not, there's a request to transfer business to business. That's not what was made. It's a new application.
Right.
But my suggestion would be to hold this one until the September 17th meeting so that we can work out
Yeah.
what's going on here.
You said December?
September.
September.
Okay, I was gonna say that's,
So someone want to make a motion to hold
So,
to the
I-
next meeting?
motion to hold, and can he bring any paperwork?
Well, I hope to be, in Mr. Stevic, can I work with you between now and the 17th to try to figure this out to
I
see?
do have paperwork at home. I thought I didn't need it because I
Let's,
have it already.
Yeah, give the attorney's office a call,
Um,
to work with Attorney Decker. And you can provide potential documentation, whether you need to bring it in or email it, but we'll look. So there was a motion to hold
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to hold a certain time?
Yeah.
To the next
September
committee meeting.
17th meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
So number 34 went to
Thank you.
public safety, right?
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's held
Find
now.
the next 5 minutes.
yeah,
Maybe talk to Attorney Decker.
Yeah.
if you want to have,
2 more items on our agenda, so if you find it in that time,
Okay.
you're
We'll
welcome
bring it
to
back.
if you want to have a seat at,
I have my sales and use expo tax, I have everything.
it's the next thing on the agenda.
Yeah, I can.
I would send that right on down there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Send it in.
We'll do item 30. Yep. All right, so we will now go back to item number 30, discussion on ordinance amendment options for automotive-related uses, massage therapy uses, and animal-related uses.
Thank you.
Yes.
Of course.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome back.
Good to be here. So let me just, I've got a short presentation here, and this came about as a matter of recent interest in a property on 85th and Greenfield, and furthermore,
Oh, no, sorry.
Alderman wrote, it expressed, just general concern with conditions of some auto repair uses in town, just the
Oh,
fact
okay.
that they're quite often full of cars, and some cars just don't seem to move from time to time, not getting repaired, so to speak. So the first matter was just an issue of an interested party looking at 85th and Greenfield Avenue. This area is Zone C2. This is the Fair Park for reference, and then there's a 84th and Greenfield. There's a service station, convenience store, gas station proposed here. This is the Greek grocery store, and then Pac-Daman Burgers is located here, and then the use for is Mamma Mia's. So, but the owner of Pac-Daman is potentially interested in assembling these 2 lots into one, and then creating a fuel station at that location. Now, this is a third of the size of this lot here, and so it's not really in a major intersection. This is sort of a one-off, but it is a busy Greenfield Avenue corridor. So aside from the how that would all work, right now this would require a conditional use permit. Just a closer look. This is a house that's just south of the Pac-Daman restaurant. And the difference here is that everything north of Greenfield Avenue is zoned commercial, C2. Everything south of the alley, in this case, is zoned residential. And the way we currently regulate fuel sales or gas stations within the city is that they're all conditional uses from, C2 district, which is the subject here, on up to our industrial districts. And we really don't have an existing set of conditional use criteria. That's the second table here for automotive uses. So all the various automotive uses that we have within our zoning ordinance have these conditions placed on them. Car washes, for instance, are conditional uses in commercial districts. However, when they're abutting or adjacent to a residential district, they're not allowed. We go on, the same thing happens for auto repair, and then we have other conditions for vehicle sales and different types of sales and service. So the question being is that should we follow suit with a similar condition like we do for car wash services and auto repair in other districts, and should we place that on fuel sales? The issue being that it doesn't really solve the problem for this one-off case on 85th and Greenfield, just given the zoning. So in this case, it might be a condition that you would want to place that not only when a fuel station or gas station wants to locate next to a residential district, but in addition to that, a residential use. So that might be a step further. And then the question would be, would you want to go this step further with the other light motor vehicle services and car wash services? That'd be just a topic for consideration. The other thing we can do too is, so this is, we did quite an extensive rezoning and map amendments a few years ago. And, but however, there are some areas of the city where we might take a look at maybe doing some updates to the zoning map. Again, sort of taking a look at the future land use. In this case, this is 84th and Beloit. There's a vacant former real estate office on this corner, which happened to be auto repair way back in the 1940s and 50s. And then more recently was demolished. There are houses next to that which are still zoned commercial. I think the intent of keeping those two homes commercial in this area was that should a commercial use come along, they have a little bit more land area to grow. However, the thing that in some cases wants to grow here is vehicle repair and so on. So it's something to take a look at. Perhaps, the future land use plan does call for these two areas, these two lots to be low-density residential. So at this time, it may be a good idea to start maybe taking a look at these little nodes within the city. Do we want them to continue to be zoned commercial? Should we maybe put them back to a low-density commercial or residential use? Just as a thought, that's another option for consideration. So, and that would correspond with our future land use plan to rezone these two lots here back to low-density residential like this area here. And then combined with, an updated fuel or gas station ordinance, it would further prevent, well, in this case, it wouldn't allow a fuel station at this corner anymore with our new ordinance anyway. So, same thing goes with 95th and Lincoln Avenue. This is the Landmark Credit Union, and this is the Humane Society here. Sort of a similar situation where you have the commercial corner, and, for whatever reason, we decided not to rezone these areas to low-density residential and keep it for maybe a larger commercial node at that intersection. But again, this would be a mapping exercise to maybe take a look at lots such as this that are residential uses, but not necessarily, commercial, but zone commercial.
And someone could get a permit, a special use permit, if they did want to, say, acquire both lots for a commercial use, right?
Right, so in other words, the gas station, this fuel station, or this auto repair shop couldn't expand any further if they wanted to buy these properties up and expand. They couldn't do that just because of the nature of those conditions.
Yes.
Protect against that we currently have. However, if a gas station wanted to go in here, under our current rules, it would require conditional use, so they'd come through the council for a public hearing and site landscaping and architectural review. But there are no other further conditions saying you can't go here because, we don't have that condition for fuel stations.
Okay.
So it's just something to consider, maybe just bolstering the text a little bit to strengthen that in line with our other auto services, and then maybe do some strategic map amendments where it makes sense. I think we have to be careful that, this does promote growth, economic development and growth for business. However, these are residential uses, so maybe the time to address that, though, that type of expansion is maybe when that opportunity arises, rather than just having it like this now. And then just, with any conditional use for auto-related uses, there's always a site landscape and architectural plan review, and that's all this slide is meant to pertain to. But to that point, once an automotive repair use or a fuel station use is approved, and, to certain Alder's points, is that, how does that operator manage that site? Quite often, we see a site plan that says, here's where the employees are gonna park, here's where customers are gonna park, and we're gonna have a couple of cars staged over here, and then they're gonna come in this door and come out this door, this way and that way. So it's all well-planned and everything, it's orderly, it's enforceable. However, sometimes
Spills out to
we
the
try to
street.
pound 5 pounds into a 2-pound bucket, and it spills out into the street, and it is difficult to enforce. It literally takes our code enforcement staff quite some time to sort of determine, are these cars that are parked out here without licenses, do they belong to this business or that business? And it does become somewhat of an enforcement headache, so it's not always as tangible as one would seem. But from a site plan perspective of what's parked on site, that part could be enforced in alignment with the site plan. So that concludes my presentation on the auto side of it. I mean, we're happy to sort of come back with an updated draft with some options for you to consider. And we can take a closer look too at, as well as with the site planning.
Oh,
And
yes.
I guess what I was angling at with Steve was some of these auto repair places, they just, for lack of word, it looks like a tsunami hit. And all the cars just ended up
Yes.
scattered, and they don't park in the lines. Can you imagine going to Target and nobody parked in the lines? And we have 3 of the bad ones. Now you have one in the 3rd district of 90, right next to Heartbreakers. That was, it's terrible. And it never had any really attention paid to it until Heartbreakers came in, and they showed an aerial view of Heartbreakers, and Wayne Clark said, "Who the hell owns that?" And then that's what started this whole thing. And so many of these cars, they're not being worked on. They're just being dropped off. They're being cannibalized. I know I go to a little shop on 65th and Beloit, and I know I don't break the windows or let the air out of the tires before I go and get my car fixed. That's all these are. It's just storage for crap cars. And again, the time on the lot, I don't know how you would even monitor that, but they're there for years on end, most of these cars. That's what I would like to see. I don't know what you folks, they're just a mess,
I agree.
They
are.
And gas stations we need to watch with residential.
what?
Yep, and then going as far as gas stations also being right up next to residential. So I think it's a good time to look at changing it.
I tried to amend that when we had the comprehensive plan and nobody went for it, so I'm going, okay.
Whole new ballgame.
Because we have so many, I mean, just right in the 4th district, right between 84th and 85th, there's an alley, and everybody wanted the alley to be a buffer. I thought, no, it should be buffer after the alley. So,
It can certainly be addressed, though, as part of a
yeah.
text
and then
amendment or
we can do it now,
amendments, yeah.
but I don't know how you would enforce time on the lot. I mean,
Right.
I guess winter time would be our best
could-
friend with snow.
We can talk to our enforcement folks, but I mean, it's not, it does take repeat visits, it does take time. There may be some things we could do from the standpoint of requiring, how you make the determination of cars as being stored, I guess, whether it's
have a
licensed or.
license and current registration like we do on private property. If you're bringing your car in there to get whatever, like I said, you should have it licensed and current registration. But they do look terrible, a lot of these places.
I mean, is that
Madam
something we
Chair.
could do? Could we ask them to, like, the repair shop to have that information from the customer and
I don't see why not.
have them provide that if they get,
I guess I'm just trying to get a bit away from just having those cars stay there forever. They always look like heck. Not always, but, lots of windows are broken, the tires are, they're never gonna run. And they're just using them for parts.
Alderman Over?
Yeah, I was going to ask, are there currently any regulations for auto repair places as far as, I understand that code enforcement, it's a lot of work to get out there and try to get off these, get these cars out of there, but are there regulations as far as how long they can have a vehicle on the property? Not that I'm saying they can be easily enforced, because that's obviously a lot of work, but are there current laws or regulations as far as having unlicensed vehicles or junk vehicles on the property for a certain amount of time?
Maybe defer to Dan or Mike on this one, yeah.
So I think we'd have to make the distinction between what's auto repair or auto body and what's salvage. And I think that, based on the definitions that we have in our code, all we really have to do is issue an order for that, and then I think get enough documentation that I think the court would support it. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Keel? Okay. So I think we can look at all of them individually and say, I've been back 3 weeks consecutively, and I can see that these cars haven't moved. This is now more aligned with auto salvage or outdoor storage than it is with auto repair. These cars aren't being repaired. It's no longer a repair function now. That's an intensification of your use or a change of your use, so that's not what you have occupancy permit for, so you can go after them that way, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
This would be for Kale and the chief. With the new requirements that we have from that federal court on marking tires, can we mark, what was that smirk? Can we mark tires on a commercial property?
So,
Oh, boy.
No?
so,
Maybe he
Sound
can.
like it is.
so we're talking about going onto private property to mark tires? No, I would not suggest doing that.
Okay.
There actually was a very recent change in policy on marking tires in the public right-of-way.
That's what I was getting at.
So I worked with Captain Clementi on this just before State Fair. There were some developments in the federal cases on that topic, with a ruling coming out of the Ninth Circuit saying that that is not an unconstitutional act recently. And so now there's a conflict in the circuits, in the federal circuits. And so now it's basically our call whether we want to do it or not. The Indiana case from which this was derived also ended up basically awarding no damages, because the court found that even if it's a constitutional violation, it was so minimal that there were no damages awarded. So at this point, I think that the city is safe to simply mark tires again in the public right-of-way. And so that's what Captain Clementi told me they were doing. But I would not enter private property to do that.
I think we're good from the automotive standpoint of, Steve, you have some direction to be able to
Yeah.
bring back.
Thank you.
Obviously, work with Mike and code enforcement if anything needs to be written, so that way it's actually enforceable.
Okay. Thank you. The next matter is the massage therapy. These are, the ones that we get throughout the city are conditional uses across the board in the commercial districts and then into the industrial districts. Conditional use requires public hearing as well as site landscape and architectural review. And there are some standard conditions that we've, that are imposed upon applicants as a condition of the council's public hearing, that they have a state licensed operation, they maintain customer appointment records or a log, that all customers enter and exit through common public areas, that there's 24/7 video surveillance within common or public access points, and that their daytime hours, 7 a.m. To 10 p.m., not outside of that range. So that's commonplace for any massage therapy use, just to try to ensure that they're above board and not illegal activity. So one thought that's, I guess, come across from planning perspective is, instead of going through a public hearing each time for massage therapy uses, why not make them limited uses, which more or less is a permitted use, however, with these conditions or limits. And there's some question about if that's a good idea or not. I mean, our Chief Mitchell had shared with me that something I hadn't thought of is that, it's a good thing that they're coming before the Common Council. As, these people are showing themselves, this is my business, and it's going to be a good business, a straightforward business. So I think there's some exposure that the, coming before the common council does expose, you know, the operators, the questions, and further scrutiny. So it's just something that I wanted to throw out there, though, and, you know, I'll work with the police department, our city attorney's office, to further evaluate that. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention that it's something that we had entertained the idea of making it a limited use versus a conditional use. So I can certainly get back to you on that aspect of it. I don't know if there's any discussion on that at this point.
I don't have any discussion at this point.
And then lastly, this can be real quick, but there's been interest in certain properties throughout the city for animal boarding uses. In one case on 84th and Cleveland Avenue, which is a C2 zoning district, and that animal boarding has the current, you know, limits of, these are the zoning districts where it's allowed, and within those two zoning districts where it's allowed as a limited use, it's permitted as long as all activity takes place indoors and that no noise from the activity is audible from a lot used for residential purposes. So there may be, with this 84th and Cleveland location, I think there's definite interest in having an outdoor dog run and so on, which would, I guess, if the council did so make it a conditional use or even a limited use in C2, it just couldn't fly with this, you know, this set of conditions. So staff's opinion that, you know, in the C2 neighborhood district, especially with animal boarding uses, that the likelihood of nuisance noise could be allowed, you know, in barking continuously. So I guess it's our current opinion that you know, that this is a fairly good set of standards to prevent nuisances.
Agreed.
I think the property owner, the applicant, was going to go door to door and talk to neighbors within the area to see what they thought.
He is. He did call me this week. He is.
Straightforward, I don't,
Yeah, that's.
any further
that
discussion on that
concludes.
item?
Nope.
Yep. So,
Thank you, Steve.
yeah, thanks.
Okay.
35?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
just to summarize the item 33. So at this point, I would advise the committee, there's two options. Number one, the committee could approve the new license because there's a valid seller's permit under the new license application. So the new license LLC, Bar West Dallas LLC, could be issued a license under state law. If you do so, you'd have to do so without confirmation as to whether the old LLC's debt has been paid, because I can't figure that out based on information available. But you could do that. The second option is to hold this item for 2 weeks while we try to figure out what's going on with the old license, and that would guide the council a little bit more maybe on what to do with the new one. So either option is before the committee. The motion so far was to hold for 2 weeks, so if there's an interest in changing that, I can tell you how to do that.
hold.
Yeah, I still
We'll-
prefer more information.
Motion to
Yep,
hold
we'll
it.
keep the same,
Yeah.
current motion to
Okay.
hold
Very good.
until the next meeting. All right, number 35, resolution authorizing the transfer of $750,000 to CDA Authority for the purchase of the property located at 1405 South 92nd Street. For agenda item number 35, the committee may convene in closed session pursuant of the provisions of section 19.85 of the state statutes for the purposes of deliberating, investigating of public funds whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This committee may reconvene in open session after completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda. Motion to go into closed session?
Second.
Second.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Okay, and then Alderman Novak, aye.
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 And the chair votes aye, and we are in closed session.
Move for approval of Attorney Decker's recommendation as stated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. The ayes have it. Anything else come before economic and development? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.